private sector, do you think that person could succeed in this position? And the answer that I got from most people was something like, well, probably, but what we need is someone who understands municipal processes, municipal legal framework, municipal responsibilities, and has some expertise. That's the most desirable candidate. Will we look at someone who has everything but that quality? I would suggest yes, if there aren't sufficient numbers of people with all of the skills. But by and large, you don't have the luxury of a lot of time in order to be able to train someone in municipal government in order to be in a position to advise and to direct staff and to advise council. Management experience, this is fairly standard. You're looking for someone who's got at least 5 years managerial experience in one form or another. That's the norm in a position like this. And in fact, I suspect your position description likely says the person should have from 5 to 10 in terms of your job evaluation system. But you're looking for someone with a minimum of 5 here. You're not looking for someone who is now looking for a management position. This is not a rookie manager job. To be respectful of others and their roles and positions on issues. And others can be members of the public, can be members of council, can be members of staff. Their roles are their personal role, their statutory role. There may be a number of different roles that they play. And their positions as well. People's positions are not usually arrived at lightly, and they're quite different in their roles, and people have to be respectful of those. I think that's important, to recognize that people have different roles, different positions, different understandings, and they come from different places to an issue. This next one is a bit of a, well, no, sorry, I'm jumping ahead. Be a skilled administrator, be able to balance and achieve multiple priorities through himself and through others. That basically says you've got to get stuff done. When council makes a decision, it's got to be implemented. When there's a statutory requirement, it's got to be done. When things are important, we get the important stuff done first. That's key. Be capable of looking outside the box for solutions to both existing and new challenges. That came through as well. We're looking for someone with some creativity, someone who's not necessarily bound to past solutions. We're looking for someone who can help us move forward in creative and innovative ways if the opportunity arises. Take responsibility for developing citizen-focused service delivery. Not just believe in it, but take responsibility for it. And because that's really the role of administration, is to deliver the services that council is deemed appropriate. So it's a case of taking responsibility for making sure that citizen-focused service delivery is the norm. And when I say citizen-focused, that's kind of a broad catch-all that refers to the ratepayers in the municipality, the visitors to the municipality, and the corporations that work here. So I could have used the word stakeholder, but it's overused. I think people understand better that citizen-focused. The next one is take responsibility for developing a culture of pride within municipal staff. It's one of the roles of a leader in any organization, is to take responsibility for developing that culture of pride, which leads to morale, high morale. That's important. It's on the day-to-day basis. This position is the individual who interacts with staff for the most part, and this is the one who in many ways is the buffer between council and those staff as well. I think that's a very important role for the CAO. So in terms of the issue of pride within municipal staff of the work that's done, I think it's important that this position recognize that's a key responsibility. Be seen as a respected professional administrator. Understand the differences and overlaps between policy making and administration. That is, you could write a book on it, quite frankly. If you look at the statutory responsibilities, they look like they're neatly carved out, right? Council responsibility for determining the services and programs that are delivered in the municipality, staff have responsibility for their implementation, council's responsibility for the evaluation. There's kind of those separate steps. But we all know that there is some overlap between those, because in order to get a sense of what an appropriate program is, council will ask questions about its delivery. How is it going to be delivered? And administration has to understand that council has an interest in that. But on the other hand, a successful administrator has to understand how to discourage council, I use the word discourage, from moving into the administrative area so that you can spend your time doing what's important in terms of policy determination and decision making, as opposed to getting into the weeds of administration, quite frankly. So it's a difference between the appropriate interest in management and, let's call it, micromanagement. So that's an important one. Do those circles overlap a little bit? Usually. Do they overlap a lot? If they do, that's a problem. Usually a whole problem. Demonstrate a high degree of integrity and expected of others. That's a key element for every manager, every senior manager, and every manager, and it goes without saying, but I think it's important to put it in there. Be forward thinking and espouse the value of long range and strategic planning. So long range might be just capital planning, it might be recreation master planning, it might be a number of things, but strategic planning is the broader portfolio that incorporates all of these elements. Understand the distinction between being friendly and being friends. This is always a difficult one. A CAO who becomes friends with the people who report to him, in that sense of a close personal friendship, or with the people to whom he or she reports, will eventually run into a problem as a result of that. It's in many ways the loneliest job in municipal government, because if you have a problem as CAO with your council, you can't go and talk to your staff about it. That's inappropriate. So you need some other route for that, and we describe that in a minute. However, that person should be friendly, should be approachable, should be cheerful, should be all of those things. Councillor Underwood, you'll have seen that distinction in the military. It's even more important in an organization like that. Yeah, that's a line. I see there's some very clear distinctions in that situation. It has to do with the line. Be a skilled negotiator. And be a skilled negotiator. That might be union negotiations, it might be acquisition of land, it might be negotiations with the federal or provincial government on behalf of the corporation. It could be a number of things where there's an environment of give and take with respect to different parties' wants and needs. Be skilled at conflict resolution. That's different than negotiations. Negotiations tends to be more about winning and losing. Conflict resolution tends to be more about trying to find a win-win solution, or getting to yes for parties. And that's a different skill than negotiation. Understand the principles and application of financial management. A successful CAO doesn't have to be an accountant, but he or she has to take a significant leadership role in the budget process and understand the short and long-term aspects of financial management. Be a successful delegator. He or she has to use the talents that are brought to them by their senior management team, or else they end up being buried and they don't get their important work done because they're again getting into the weeds of their staff's job. Be appreciative of the need for councils and administrations to be accountable and transparent to the public. 10 years ago, this wouldn't have shown up on most municipal councils or municipal staffs' radar screen, quite frankly. Everyone would have said we are much more accountable and much more transparent than any other level of government. After several judicial inquiries into some scandals in, call it in the GTA, certainly not